Hi friends, hope you are all fine and doing great. So today we are gonna learn about positions in CSS. So it's cool feature in CSS that you can now move any element at a specific position. So let's do it, guys. First of all, this is my folder of position CSS tutorial. I named it as position CSS tutorial. This is my folder. First of all, I'm gonna open it in VS Code. So VS Code is an editor, free source editor that will provide you very good extensions and suggestions to write a great code with easily. You can understand your code highly. It highlights your code, so it will make your code much easier to debug and do cool things. So you can use any text editor like Sublime, Atom, if you are comfortable on them. So I'm using here VS Code editor. You can see a name or title here, Visual Studio Code. So this is my folder. I have only one image of image width white.jpg. So, and I'm gonna make some or take some initial steps that are make some files like index.html and also a file of style.css. So we can now we are gonna link in our boilerplate. We are gonna link our CSS file. Now you can see it is linking it on self, writing the name, everything, and I'm gonna change its title to positions. Okay, positions in CSS. Maybe it's CSS3 property. Yes, it's CSS3's 3 properties. Positions are introduced in CSS3, not in CSS. CSS is actually the older version of CSS3. So we are learning here CSS3, and CSS3, I will teach you everything about CSS and CSS3 in these series. So first of all, I'm gonna make a div here, okay, with a class of box. Okay, so now I'm gonna copy it here and open my style.css file. First of all, I'm gonna make a reset. So for making a reset, you can use a universal selector that will select each and every tag or element, and then I'm gonna set its margin to 0. For other browsers, that will render things improperly, and box sizing to border box, so it will make our padding not affect the width. So when we set padding without box sizing, so it will affect the width of the element. That will cause worse things in our document. So we don't like not to include box sizing. We will also include these 3 lines on the top of our CSS file. So it will make our CSS looks great. So now I'm gonna target my box class with .box selector, and you know, we can target classes with dot or period, and we target our IDs with hash. Okay, so I'm using dot here because on HTML I wrote a class. So here is dot box, and inside the dot box I'm gonna set its width to 100 pixel and its height to 100 pixel. It's up to you. I'm creating a square box and set its background to green or brown. I think brown is not looking nice. So first of all, I'm gonna open it. So as you can see, this is my box with brown color. Now if you want to move it, you can use CSS positions. So let me introduce about what are CSS positions. So when you want to use the position, you have to write a position property here, like position here, and there are a lot of position like position absolute, fixed, relative, static, sticky. Okay, so these are different positions having different works or having different abilities. So these positions specifies the type of this position property specifies the type of positioning method used for an element. So there are 5 positioning values like static, fixed, relative, absolute, and sticky. So elements are then positioned using top, bottom, left, and right properties. So let me show you. If I use here absolute and use top here, okay, and set it to 30 pixel. Now once I refresh it, you can see it moves from top to 30 pixel down. So, and another thing I want to tell you, these properties will not work unless the position property is set first. Now if you comment it out, the top property won't work anymore. So it will only work when you use or when you set a position property. However, if you use position property as static, so it won't do anything again, because static is a default property of our CSS or of our container. So HTML elements are positioned static by default. So that means static position elements are not affected by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. Okay, an element with position static is not positioned in any special way. It will always position according to the normal flow of the page. So it don't have any work with us right now. Now we will look it on in JavaScript, so don't worry about this thing. So today we are this is our static property covered. Now we are gonna look on the relative property. So I'm gonna set a position to relative. Okay, an element with the position relative is positioned relative to its normal position. Like if I set its top to 30 pixel, it will move itself from its position that it was on. Okay, and setting top, right, bottom, and left properties of the relatively positioned element will cause it to be adjusted away from its normal position. Now if I also use a left here, I want to move it left from 30 pixel, so it will move 30 pixels from the left. And there's also a fixed position. So you can say that absolute position is also working like a relative position. Now once I refresh, nothing is changed. So you can say that top from 30 pixel and left 30 pixel is doing same for absolute and relative position, but it's not true. An absolute position is actually takes the parent element. Okay, so an element with the position absolute is positioned relative to the nearest position as ancestor or parent container, instead of positioned relative to the viewport. So the relative actually works with the viewport, or you can say with the screen size, but absolute will work according to the relative div. So I can show you with a practical so you can understand it easily, that if I have a div here, again a div of class with position parent box, okay, and then I just move it here. Then I come here again, .parent parent box. Let me check the spelling if I'm not wrong. Yes, and then I'm gonna set a width of, let's suppose, a big parent 600 width, and a height, also a height, height, height of 700 pixels. So it is very big, I think so. Okay, I have to give a background color here, background color to blurry wood. Okay, once I refresh it, you can see, okay, it's so big, so I wanna set it to 400. Yes. Now, as you can see, this box have a position from top of 30 pixel and left 30 pixel. Now once I use a bottom here and set it to 0, that means it will stick to the end of the viewport. Okay, it is coming in on the bottom. But if you want to set it according to this parent div, you have to give a position here also, with a position relative. Once you refresh it, now this absolute position will work according to this position element, this relative or this parent div. So it will work according to this parent div. How is working? Because I have given here this position relative. So without it, if I comment it out, so this absolute position will take the entire viewport or think that this body have the relative position. But once I give a relative position to its parent div, so it will work, the absolute position will work according to the parent div. So now if you want to set this div in center, how can you do this? It's very simple. You can do it in just by using maybe text align. Let me do it a practical. So text align center, so it won't work. But if I give a text align center to its parent div, maybe it will work, but it won't work anymore. So don't worry, we have a lot of tricks. So to solve this, you cannot set everything with text align to center. If you want to center it from here and here, like totally from vertically and horizontally in middle of your parent box, how can you fix this problem? Now you can fix this problem in just in seconds. It's very easy. Just you have to give a top of 50% and a left of 50%. Once you refresh it, here is your box from 50% and 50%. This is the center point. But I want the box center point, this center point should be here. So what can I do to make it center with the box center position? So it's very simple. There is another property known as transform and then translate. Just you have to minus those two values with -50 with the percent sign, and once you refresh it, now it is totally in the center. You can measure it from the scale or ruler extension from the Google, so you can see it is centered in the box. Okay, so you can do these kind of cool things in your by using positions. Now if you set the position of top here to the relative div like 30 pixel, now you can see this whole container is moving. So the relative div is always work according to the body, and absolute div is work according to the relative div or the parent div that have the relative property. So this parent div have the relative value, so the absolute value will always work according to this relative value. So I hope you are understanding this a little confusing thing. Now if you want to set the whole thing in the middle, how can you do this? It's just very simple. I want you to pause this video and do it on your own. Okay, now I'm gonna do it. So just you have to copy these 3 lines, Control C and Control V it here, comment it out, refresh it, and you can see a very different thing. Okay, so once I minimize, comment it out and refresh it, you can see it is coming here. So how can we fix this? How can we fix our relative positions? Okay, so if I set its position to 400 by 400 and I want to set it top to 100%, now the percent is not working here in a relative position. So you can see the weird behavior of relative and absolute positions. So for this purpose we will use Flexbox. So don't worry if you don't know about Flexbox, the next video is on Flexbox. Right now I can show you using this flex property, display to flex. Once you refresh it, it won't change anything. But how can you set this? It's very simple. You don't have to give a display flex here. You have to give a display flex to the parent box, parent element, that is body. So I'm gonna select a body here. Okay, and inside a body I will set the display flex here. Once you refresh, nothing is changed. You have to write some other properties of display flex property, like align not align content, align items, align align items to center. Once you refresh it, nothing is changed again. Just you have to give a height here of 100 VH. Once you refresh it, you can see it is coming vertically in the center. Now if you want to center it in just in horizontal order, you just have to write justify content to center, and as you can see, it is centered itself from top, right, bottom, left, from everywhere. So these are some cool tricks that you can do on your own. So these flex property, don't worry if you don't know about the flex box, I will tell you everything in these CSS series. So you will become a master after going through from the whole series. So don't worry if you don't know about Flexbox. The next video, inshallah, on Flexbox will be on Flexbox. So don't worry. Today our topic, as you know, is on positions. So we are discussing positions. Now this kind of positioning, like I centered it using Flexbox, is having the good impact in responsive design. So we don't use it anymore in coming videos. So don't worry, we don't use it. So but in some cases we can use it. Now another cool thing of positions is fixed and static positions. Fixed and sticky positions. So let me make a nav bar here, a very ugly nav bar. So with a nav tag, and inside nav I will set a p here. I know it's not having any semantic values or semantic or have any good meaning. So I'm just for the sake of less time, so I'm just creating this kind of text navbar. But we will make another video on how to make amazing, cool, and fantastic nav bars using CSS. So we can do it, man. But today, for now, I'm just want to show you about the fixed property, so and sticky property. So let me show you. Let's suppose it's my navbar of href with slash home about and contact. I think I am spelling it right. And then what next? Let's suppose trials. Oh wow, it changed it into Urdu. So trials, trials. Okay, now once I refresh it, as you can see, this is my beautiful nav bar. And if you want to style it, you can style it. Go ahead and style it like a nav with a background color, blurry wood, refresh it, and a padding of 10 pixel, refresh it, and nav with a anchor tags, text decoration to none, so you can see lines will gone, and the color will set to corn silk, refresh it. No, it's not good. White, and no, it's not also good. Now it's looking amazing. Next thing is yes, I'm gonna set its padding again to 10 pixel and 0. So it will only affect the top, but won't affect on the bottom. Won't affect on left and right. But if you want to affect on left or right, you can do it. Now the next thing is nav a So if you don't know these selectors that I'm using, like nav a hover, I will make a complete video on these kind of combinators. Actually, these are known as combinators, nav a, nav p, a. So I can also use this nav p a. That means the nav have the element p and the p have the element a. So I want to hover this a or all these a's that are inside the p tag. So these kind of combinators, I will make a complete video on this, so don't worry if you don't know about this. But just now, don't look on these ugly stylings. I know this is not a good styling, good way of styling, but for now just set a background color again here to something this, and then change it to dark. Refresh it. As you can see, once I hover it, it is becoming a navbar. And now we are coming inside our main tag. Set a section here. Let's suppose I have a heading of great or the quick code. Once I refresh it, okay, another thing, I want to include a paragraph of lorem 5,000 words. Once I refresh it, you can see a paragraph here. But here's a thing that 500 words, I think so 500 are enough. No, 500 is not enough. I think so 1000 is enough. Now it's enough. So as you can see, once I scroll down, this div, or you can say this navbar, is disappearing. But if you want to make it fixed here, how can you do this? It's very simple. You can do it with a nav selector, and inside a nav selector, or I have declared it on the top, so this is my nav selector, and here I want to set a position here, again a position here with fixed. Once you refresh it, it will look like something this, and once you scroll it, you can see this nav bar is moving once you scroll. So when you are scrolling, the nav bar is sticking itself. But if you want to make it full width, just go ahead, write width of 100%, and you can see it is again 100%. But you can see the text is disappeared or cutting. So how can you fix this? I think so you can fix this by giving a margin bottom of 30 pixel maybe, but it won't work. Another way you can do this is you can set a margin to this main tag. Okay, so I will copy it here, write the main tag and margin top of 30 pixel. Maybe it will, okay, it won't affect, it won't do this thing. So there is no way of doing this thing. Margin top is not working on the main. No, that's not a big problem. Let me remove it first, refresh it. Again, we can change it to padding 10 pixel, refresh it. Yes, padding is working. So I'm going to set a padding of 30 pixel. So as you can see, it is working 50 pixel. Now you can see this is my section, main element, main container, and once you scroll it down, you can see a nice change. But this is a kind of hard code or a bad kind of bad example of doing so. So I will remove these two positions from here, and once I refresh it, you can see this is my nav bar. Once I scroll it, the nav bar is disappearing. So what kind of position should I fix it here? Should I use here? So you can use a sticky position here. Now once you use a sticky position, it won't do anything yet, but you have to use a top and set it to 0. Once you refresh it, now once you scroll it, and you can see that the container of your main is not affected anymore. But once you use the fixed position, it will make an impact and it will overlays your content or cut your content. So this is a good trick that you should use sticky instead of using fixed. So I just use a sticky with top of 0. These two lines will make your nav bar sticky, so it will stick to around your whole website. So how cool this feature is. So with a nice hover effect, and it is sticking itself. So you are learning not only position here, you can also learn how to make a nav bar more sticky. So I hope you are enjoying this thing. So maybe this topic is finished, but I have one more thing that I want to tell you is, if you want a text and make the text centered on the image, how can you do this? Now it is very simple, and man, I tell you, you can do it. So first of all, I'm gonna delete it from here, or I gonna comment it out. Okay, so once I refresh, it will gone, and then I know it's very big comment. So this is the benefit of VS Code. Using VS Code, you can just close your elements like this and then comment it out. Very big elements. So I'm closing these elements in this way. So now the next thing is, oh no, I don't want this thing. What is gonna happen? Okay, I have a good trick here. Yes. Now Next thing is, if you have an image and you want to want the text center on the image, like this is my image, and if you want the text centered here, so what you should do using position. So you can do it with very easily using positions. First of all, I'm gonna set a div class of container here, and so this container have two elements. So the first element is image. I will set the images from images, wide image, and set it alt to nice view. I know it's not a good alternative, so you can set it on your own, and a width of 100,000%, I think so, and a height of 300, I think so, it's in pixel. So let me show you first how it is looking. I know it's looking not bad, but it's looking amazing. Now if you want to set your text centered somewhere here, so how can you do this? Just you have to make another div, okay, with a class of whatever you want. So I want to center it, so I use a class of center here and some dummy text. So let's suppose position, not poison, positions, okay, and that's it. Once you refresh it, you can see this position right now is here. But if you want to set it here, how can you do this? Now it's very super duper easy. You can do it in just seconds. So come to your style.css, and the first thing you have to do is just make a container, container. So now with the container, use the position property to relative. So now once you use your center element or center class here, now you can set its position to absolute, so it will move according to your parent box, which is container. So it will this center element will move according to this container. Now the next thing is, you should use a top here that I told you before, top of 50%, not 55, 50%, and a left from 50%, or it's a text, you can use a text align here. Text align, I think the text align, okay, text align of center. Now once you refresh it, let me find it. You could say Control A. Okay, here it is. So now if you can see it is just in center from the top, but not it is center from the bottom. So you can do it using a width property, width to 100%. So now it will center itself. Now it is not centering itself, it is going very far away. Okay, so how can we fix this? I think so we can fix this by setting the image to width 100%. I know. Yeah, it's looking good. It is in center now. But if you want to center, so if you want to center without using text align, how can you do this? Again, it's very simple. Use a left here and set it to 50%. And I have changed a font weight so you can see it easily. Font weight to 900, and once you refresh it and change its color to something white, and a background color to black. So now you can see this is my position, and actually it is not in that center that I want. So how can you fix this? I told you before that you can use transform here, transform then translate, and minus 50% comma again minus 50%. So it will vertically minus your element and horizontally minus your element. So it will make these two positions work according to this translate. So once you refresh, you can see it is totally in center from each and every side. So now you can set your text here whatever you want. Okay, and if you set the height here, height of 100 VH, refresh, you can see again it is in center. So this is the way you can center your text on images. So I'm not using a background image, but you can see it is look like a background image. How cool functionality is it? So everything is possible using positions, but we should not always depend on positions, because sometimes with responsive designs, positions will make an effect on you, or make your websites look worst. So how this is the thing that or you can say this is my experience tip that I want to tell you, that you should not always depend on position elements. You should look on different kind of things like flex boxes, grids, or you can use frameworks like Bootstrap.